front of an internet audience here in the heart of Illinois. It's the I'm Clifford Today show. Welcome back, everyone. So, hey guys, today, as you can tell, is going to be a little different because I had to be gone this weekend. For me right now, it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday, my dudes. And I was going to be gone in Iowa this weekend, so I couldn't be here Saturday to do an actual live show. However, I'm going to try to keep the experience authentic for you, so I'm recording this live without any cuts, if I can help it. Unless something really embarrassing happens, so you better believe I'm going to cut that out. But it's probably not going to happen. This is probably going to happen from time to time to where I have to pre-record the show because, you know, I've got a life and I'm not always going to be able to be in front of the mic, in front of the camera on weekends. So gonna have to go with this. Although I'm gonna do my best to actually be. So this is a premiere. This is a premiere on YouTube, so it kind of is like watching a live show. So I'm gonna be doing my best to be there in the comments, in the chat with you guys, responding with y'all. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm not too busy to show up. So please feel free, you know, to still like interact in the chat and in the comments. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope it's not too different for you. It shouldn't be. And even though you guys, I'm not there right now, live, we still got some interaction to for me to respond to. Got some housekeeping to do, which I don't really know what the difference is, but everyone always says housekeeping when it comes to this, when it comes to responding to you guys. Got a review to read, a very nice review from Solid Sloth 94, and so they and for those of you who are new, please feel free to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and maybe like whatever other platform that I know Spotify does the ratings, you can't do the reviews, but yeah, please feel free. Even if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, if you have an iPhone, you can go on Apple Podcasts and just leave a review anyway. It really helps me out, you know, and it's nice to hear feedback from you guys. But Solid Sloth 94 gives us 5 stars. Up and Coming Podcast, a niche podcast that follows music trends and topics. The host carries a passion that many podcasts lack. It's a natural fit and exciting to see where the podcasts will go. Well, thank you so much, Solid Sloth. I'm excited too. I mean, this is episode 3, and we'll see where this show goes. Oh, the places that will go with this show. What else did we have? Had some responses from you guys over on Spotify to the last episode. For those of you who listen on Spotify, I usually will be leaving Q&As and polls for you guys to respond to, and I'll talk about it in the next episode. So I think it was Lisa who had said in the episode after that that I talked too much about Keith Green. And so I left a poll in the last episode saying, asking, do I talk too much about Keith Green? And of course the options were yes or no. And the results were, a few of you guys responded. No got a 67%. However, Yes got a 33%. So obviously there are some people out there who think for some reason that I talk too much about Keith Green on this channel. And I don't know. Maybe I do, but it's not like I care. So I don't even know why I left the poll. Just kidding. What else did we have? We had some answers to the question that I left. And the question was talking about, we had our discussion about Gavi and that whole situation. If you want to learn more about that, you can listen to the previous episode, listen or watch. And the question was, what do you think should be done about when it comes to accountability in the church and in music industry? Because that's a big problem when especially, when we're talking about the Gavi situation. Obviously, accountability is kind of an issue. And of course, I go into it in the last episode. But Lisa responded with, I think that churches should really encourage their leaders to attend therapy, whether they're doing good or not. It's a safe place to sift baggage. Also, more churches need to offer Celebrate Recovery. Yeah, I would agree. I also think that like mentorship is important. So like if you're at a church, I highly recommend find someone you can look up to and someone who is older than you, more experienced in the faith than you, and have regular meetings with them. Give me 1 second. Hi, baby. Hello. Um, I'm sorry. I'm recording right now. Uh, I'm recording. No, it's okay. um, I'm recording for the show this weekend. So, is it okay if I call you back? Okay. All right. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye. I'm probably gonna mute that, but that was my girlfriend calling. She didn't know I was recording. So yeah, therapy or mentorship and Celebrate Recovery is also a great option. We briefly talked about Celebrate Recovery in the last episode, where that's a great place to find accountability and mentorship. It's a place where they have small groups at the end where it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, where everyone sits in a circle and everyone takes turns talking about their week and how things are going for them. And you can also find sponsors there, so that those are people who you can consider mentors and such, and people that will push you and help you. So yeah, Celebrate Recovery is a great option, and it's obviously Christ-centered. And honestly, more people should go to Celebrate Recovery, because Celebrate Recovery isn't just for people that are like addicted to a substance. Like, you don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict to go to Celebrate Recovery. I went to Celebrate Recovery because of sexual integrity issues, problems with lust and such. And I've known people who go there because they have bitterness in their life and they have to deal with it. So you can have the smallest issue in your life, and Celebrate Recovery is the place for you, honestly. So yeah. I think that's it. With the housekeeping. Oh wait, there was one other thing that I wanted to address. The last video got one comment on on the video, and I wanted to address it because I'm not sure if this person was trolling or not. By the way, people who are like watching this later after the premiere, please feel free to leave a comment on the video. For some reason, I wish when it comes to chat, people who comment in the chats, it doesn't stay on the video like after it's done. So please feel free to leave a comment and any questions that you got. Also, we have a Q&A segment at the end. Usually, I don't think it's not gonna happen now because we don't have any questions for this episode, which is fine. We got a lot to go through. But leave a question in the comments so that we can address it in the Q&A episode in the next episode. And yeah, anyways, so someone left a comment in the last video. And this is from www.equip.org. Like that's their username. And equip.org asks, did Clifford ever explain why he has a today icon on lower left? It looks like he may be affiliated with the morning television show on a big network. So I'm not sure if he's trolling or not, but equip.org, I definitely have addressed it in the past couple episodes, actually. The today icon is just a parody. It's just a joke because my channel was called I'm Clifford Today, and when I decided to start the show, I decided to call it the I'm Clifford Today Show as a play on words. And so I thought it'd be funny to take the Today logo and like do my own spin on it, which that's supposed to be protected by fair use, parody. Parody is usually protected by law. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. If you actually were sincere about that, not sure, but put your mind at ease. I am not affiliated with NBC and their show. So, also, I was just reminded, you know how in my older videos I always had like the album of the day or the week, whatever. I never really called it that. I was just like, hey, I'm Clifford today and you're not, and today we are joined by, and I would name the two albums that I would usually have behind me. Well, I want to kind of bring that back a little bit in a different kind of way. You guys have probably noticed that I switch out the album that I have behind me in my setup, but I never mentioned anything about it, and I want to try to mention the albums that I have behind me for every episode. And today we are joined by Daniel Amos's album Alarma. Alarma by Daniel Amos. It's a good album. So also got a lot of things to quickly go through at the beginning. I wanted to give a shout out to my previous, so as of the day of this premiere, I mean today is Wednesday, but by Saturday I will have left my my job at the Boys and Girls Club of America in Bloomington Normal. I found a new job, and last time I was there, I was talking to them about about how I was leaving, and also randomly brought up my YouTube channel was brought up. So they were like, "Oh, you got a YouTube channel?" The kids over there. That's why they talk like that, because the kids talk like that. So I think some of them might have checked it out, maybe subscribed. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and let them know that I'm definitely going to miss them. And that's where actually this Clifford came from. Some people at my work, they gave that to me. So I decided to put it up on the live stream. And so yeah, miss you guys. Shout out to you guys. Feel free to stay in touch through the YouTube channel. And just an update for you guys. I've found a new job at a full time gig at a place called Haphazard Press, which you guys can check out. They got like Instagram and Facebook, and they do graphic design and posters and prints, T-shirts, and such for. Usually, they usually work with some bands. In the past, they've worked with Dave Matthews Band and Me Without You, and so, but they also have worked with local businesses. And I'm going to be working there as a with the poster orders over there, and and it's some cool people over there, and so I'm excited. So, but also nothing is changing over here. I'm still doing my thing here. I think that's it. I think that's all I quickly had to go through. We do have a main topic today. But there were a couple of things that I wanted to do in this episode. We're going to talk about Do the Dash. We're going to talk about Elijah Furtick, Stephen Furtick's son. But first, there was something fun that I wanted to do. This was a while ago. It was a couple months ago. Relevant Magazine came out with this article that I think is pretty fun, called What Your Favorite Band and Youth Group Says About You Today. And maybe you've seen it. I saw a lot of people, a lot of my Christian friends or even ex-Christian friends sharing it around on Facebook, because, it talks about a lot of the bigger bands that like Christian kids my age would have listened to. Take a drink of water. So I want to go through it because I think it's pretty funny. And maybe if you haven't read it, you can find out what your favorite band and youth group says about you today. So that's what we're going to do real quick. Oh, there we go. Sorry, we don't have the smoothest production. But it's written by Tyler Huckabee. Partly inspired by our senior editor's Twitter thread and McSweeney's take on sad dad bands. I don't know what they're talking about, but whatever. Here are some thoughts about your favorite band and youth group. What your favorite band and youth group means for your adult life. And mine is my favorite is a little on down here. Mine was Newsboys. But I did have some favorite. When I read through this, I realized there are some things that I relate to with the different artists. But anyways, we'll see. Relient K. Now, I did listen to a lot of Relient K, and I still do. I think I appreciate them a lot more as an adult than I did as a kid, because Relient K was kind of the band that my sisters listened to. I had two older sisters, and they got really into Relient K, and so I was more into like Newsboys, DC Talk, whatever. So I may be able to relate to some of the things in this. So, Relient K, you're sort of embarrassed about your youth group band phase, but you'll still defend Relient K as a really good pop punk band. I'm not really embarrassed about my youth group days, but I will defend Relient K as a really good pop punk band. You went through a phase where you felt like hanging out with friends could just be church, but you've started going back. You're online too much and use internet words in real conversations, but it never quite sounds natural, and you can tell. You're a little over capitalism. Definitely not me. You're very into Phoebe Bridgers now. That's not me. Phoebe Bridgers has collaborated with a lot of my favorite artists, and I like those collaborations, but her solo stuff hasn't really interested me. She's okay. But yeah, I don't relate to a lot of that, really. But I still have always liked Relient K. Apparently, they still make music, but I haven't listened to them because it's only been Matt Thiessen and one other guy. Like, they haven't really had all the original members. I think the last great album from them was Forget and Not Slow Down. I love that album. It could be my favorite, but I need to revisit their discography, and maybe I'll make a video about that. Okay, so this one I may be able to relate to a bit more because Jars of Clay is currently my actual favorite Christian band. I say currently because they haven't officially broken up or anything. They've just been on hiatus and they release some stuff every once in a while. They actually released a they released a cover not too long ago and it was pretty good. And they released a Christmas EP not too long ago as well. But I'm still waiting for they haven't had a full-length album since Inland and I'm waiting for that. Uh so, Jars of Clay, you read a lot of Richard Rohr and went through a season of being very into the Enneagram, but you've cooled down a little. Not relatable at all. I don't even know who Richard Rohr is, and I've always hated the Enneagram. I've never understood it. The liturgists and IPAs were both a big part of your deconstruction process, but now you're getting sort of into high church stuff. Now, the liturgists, I believe, they're talking about Michael Gunger's podcast, and there's a lot that I do not agree with on Michael Gunger, and don't even get me started on deconstruction. I actually plan on having a whole episode about this whole deconstruction movement. Um, I have some thoughts that I don't think uh that I think is pretty unique from what most people are saying on both sides, but we'll get to that. And I don't really know who High Church is, but Wes Anderson still does it for you every time. Yes, I love Wes Anderson movies. You used to not like country music very much, but you've got to admit the older stuff is pretty good. Yes, but I also think there's some good alternative country out there that nobody listens to. Um, so I relate to like 50% of that. And it's probably because Jars of Clay wasn't my favorite band when I was in youth group. It wasn't until like I got in my 20s that I really got into Jars of Clay. So maybe that's why. Amy Grant. Never really paid much attention to Amy Grant. Um, I know she's really popular. She's like the Britney Spears of Christian music, but whatever. You're starting to realize that you don't recognize a lot of the celebrities on the fronts of magazines and movie posters anymore, and that doesn't bother you too much. You always knew big things were in store for Kelly Clarkson. You got 2 or 3 Ina Garten recipes memorized. Amy Grant music is how you know it's officially Christmas in your house. Which I didn't. Did Amy Grant do a lot of Christmas music? I don't know. So I don't really relate to any of that, but maybe you do. So, Kirk Franklin also didn't really get big into him. No regrets whatsoever. Kirk Franklin ruled then and he rules now. Okay. Well, I have a lot of regrets, so I guess I don't relate. Just kidding. Hillsong United. I definitely have my problems with Hillsong now, but there were some jams by them that I really liked back then. Being a worship band kid, and a worship leader. There's some old school stuff that I really could get down with back in the day, and still kind of do. You simultaneously love Lin-Manuel Miranda and want to see him locked up for We Don't Talk About Bruno. I actually like We Don't Talk About Bruno. I'm one of those normies, and I like Hamilton, but there's some other stuff that he did that I don't really care about, like Vivo. I didn't like that movie really, and I didn't watch that one that was about that other musical one that he did, the live action one. You don't consider yourself very online, but you are obsessed with a couple TikTok accounts. No, I'm not on TikTok at all. You're very into Brene Brown. I believe that's the author that my girlfriend reads, and she likes her. So, but that's not me. Me Without You. Now, I'm sure Mitchell, my co host for Podwood Forecast, can relate to a lot of this, maybe. You stopped reading Relevant years ago when you were deconstructing, but of course, nobody called it deconstructing then. Again, with the deconstructing, but it's true. I don't really pay attention to Relevant anymore. I mean, they're not really a Christian magazine anymore. Like they interview people like Andrew Garfield and Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they're not. They have an article that's about Florence and the Machine. It's not. It's they may cover Christian stuff from time to time, but they're not. Uh, I don't know. They're more of like an open-minded secular magazine. That's what I consider them. Anyways, as we continue to read this uh, relevant article, Terrence Malick movies mean a lot to you. Uh, Terrence Malick is a popular director in like indie movie scene. I have not seen one Terrence Malick film, but I've always wanted to. I know that Mitchell has, and he's actually not too crazy about Terrence Malick, so they got something wrong there. You still have that Salters patch soon onto a whoa. Why did I read it as soon? You still have that Salters patch sewn onto a messenger bag somewhere. I don't know what he's talking about. Is he talking about Salty? That cartoon that's like the hymnal or whatever? I don't know. You used to cuss a little for the rebellious thrill of it, and now it's just kind of part of your vocabulary. I think that's definitely true of Mitchell. You guys may not know because we keep our podcast clean, but it's kind of the same for both me and him. You will never hear me cuss on this show. But you know, I could I could share some things about that, but I'm not going to go into it right now. You can ask me about it in a question. Skillet. Now I realized I very surprisingly related to this a lot more than I expected to, because as you guys know, I'm not a fan of Skillet's music. There's some older songs that I like, and that's before Monster. Um, I liked them better when they were more of like a kind of grungy rock band. They have a song called "You Are My Hope" that I always liked, but I'm not a fan of Skillet. But as this article is going to talk about, um, I appreciate John Cooper as a person and the things that he talks about. I don't always agree with him, but which I just realized that. Anyway, I'm just going to read it. You're either very excited or sort of bewildered by some of John Cooper's political statements. So I'm more on the excited part. If the former, you're into Jordan Peterson and mostly okay with Joe Rogan, although you don't agree with everything they say. Why I feel called out, and I don't. I guess I'm a Skillet fan. I I have a lot of respect for Jordan Peterson. And yes, I don't agree with everything he says because he's not a Christian. So there's some things that he says that I don't agree with. But I agree with a lot. I have 12 Rules for Life right next to me, actually. And mostly okay with Joe Rogan. We talked about Joe Rogan in the Winston Marshall episode. And yes, I'm mostly okay with him. And don't agree with everything that he says. But I'm definitely not that crowd that wants to cancel him. If the latter, you've been sort of surprised to find yourself a big Beth Moore fan recently. No, not I don't have much respect for Beth Moore. But anyways, okay, here's mine. Newsboys. You're not sure when everything got so political, but you miss the days when it wasn't. Now I'm feeling called out in this one as well. The new pastor at church isn't quite as good as the old one, but he's a nice guy. That one I don't really get because I only just started going to a new church for the past few months, and it's the same pastor. We have not had a pastor switch in the last few months, but I definitely have a better appreciation for him than other previous pastors that I've been under. Um, While you're all for accountability, cancel culture is getting a little out of control. This is me. This is me. This one I don't relate to as much. You were ready to give up on Star Wars for good, but The Mandalorian brought you back. Not true. I did give up on Star Wars, and I've not watched The Mandalorian because I gave up on Star Wars, and I'm not interested. I don't get. I'm not a Star Wars geek. I like the original trilogy. well enough. I don't go crazy for it. The prequel trilogy is funny, but also boring, and the sequel series is just a mess. Uh, but I'm more of a Lord of the Rings person anyway. So, anyways, that was mine. Caedmon's Call. Uh, I used to be a big fan of Caedmon's Call. I feel like I appreciated them more when I got older, and I was a big Derek Webb fan. But Derek Webb is no longer a Christian, as far as I know. He is an atheist now, and I don't agree with the things that he stands for today. Uh, but anyways, this is a short one. You're Episcopalian now. I'm not. I'm not Episcopalian. Timothy Chalamet's character in Don't Look Up really spoke to you. I never saw Don't Look Up because it didn't look good. So I can't relate. So anyways, moving on. David Crowder Band. This is funny because we're going to talk about David Crowder Band at the end of the show. I wasn't like big into David Crowder Band, but I definitely had a lot of appreciation for them. More than I do for Crowder's current music. But I think they're kind of underrated, honestly, and we need to talk about them more. But anyways, you aren't like a super fan, but the Marvel movies are pretty fun. Yeah, I agree. That's me. I get a little tired of Marvel movies, and I'm not really interested in a whole lot that's coming out today. But except for it, and this is what it says: Spider-Man: No Way Home was way more emotional than you thought it was going to be. Yes, it's true. I thought that No Way Home was going to be a crap show, but it wasn't, surprisingly, and it was a lot of fun. You feel like there are two Sufjan Stevens, the folk artist and the experimental electronica guy, and you kind of wish the latter would chill out a little. Now, I actually need to listen to more Sufjan Stevens. I like what I've heard, um, but I need to listen to more. So I can't really relate to this necessarily. Lecrae. Uh, I'm not really big on Christian hip hop in the first place, so Lecrae has never really been one that I've been always excited about, anyways. So, but anyways, maybe you do. If you're a Lecrae fan, you never really considered yourself a youth group kid per se, but somehow you've gotten very involved in church as an adult. It just took a while to find a church that really clicked, and now that you have, you actually, can it be, really look forward to going? HBO Max is by far the best streamer, even if the interface doesn't work very well. That is true. HBO Max, I think, is superior to Netflix. Hot take. NFTs are a bubble, and if you haven't already invested, don't bother starting now. I don't understand. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about NFTs, but basically, the only thing I related to in there was the HBO Max thing. So, moving on. Under Oath. I loved Under Oath as a youngster. More in my like later high school days. So I'll probably relate to some of this. You got pretty into that Rise and Fall of Mars Hill podcast last year. You always knew something was kind of off about Mark Driscoll. It's true. I kind of binged it. I didn't agree with the conclusions that they came up with at the that they were kind of alluding to at the end, but I listened to it and I liked a lot of it. And I can't say that I always knew something was off about Mark Driscoll because I didn't know anything about him until the controversy. So, anyways, you're not listening to as much screamo these days, but Julian Baker is amazing. It's true I'm not as much of a metalhead as I was back in the day. I still pay attention from time to time. Uh, I've actually never gotten into Julian Baker though. So this is funny because Mitchell was saying how he relates to this so much, and he was an Under Oath fan. You made fun of Twilight when it came out, but you're pretty excited about Robert Pattinson's upcoming Batman movie. I mean, that's both me and Mitchell. So I just think that's funny. Um, although Mitchell defends Twilight to an unhealthy degree. So yeah, that's if you're an Under Oath fan. I'm not currently an Under Oath fan. I don't like their music now, but I definitely did back in the day. All right, what time do we got? We've been recording for half hour. Okay, for more than a half hour. Let's take a break real quick, and we'll finish up with these last few, and then we'll talk about Elijah Furtick after the break. So, uh, guys, don't go away, and you know, we'll be right back with some more great content.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, let's bring it back now, y'all. All right, we're back. Gonna keep talking about our favorite bands from youth group real quick. Jennifer Knapp. I did not listen to Jennifer Knapp. My sisters might have, so maybe they can relate to it, but I can't say that I did. Jennifer Knapp. You've been mostly agnostic on Taylor Swift for most of her career, but got radicalized into a true Swiftie when Folklore came out, and now you're surprised and a little frightened of how much you love her. That's the case for a lot of people. I haven't listened to Folklore really, uh, but a lot of people did, and I think my sisters actually did too, and they got really into her. But Jennifer Egan's latest didn't quite do it for you, but you'll always have a soft spot for a visit from the Goon Squad. I don't know who Jennifer Egan is, but Riddle has become a pillar of your personality. It's kind of relatable actually for me too. So I guess I'm a Jennifer Knapp fan, even though I can't name a song by her. DC Talk. Let's see how much I relate to this. Depends on who you were favorite was. Come on, Relevant. Your editor is struggling here. Depends on who your favorite was. This is true. If it was Toby, you're still mourning the loss of civility in politics. I mean, yeah, kind of. You've never really gotten into any other hip hop. It's kind of true. I've kind of realized that my hip hop tastes is mostly white boy rap, which is ironic. I mean, it's not intentional, but I realize that a lot of the hip hop I listen to, Oliver Tree, Watsky, a lot of it is white boys. So I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, I do listen to it. Like I'm defending myself, I guess, so we'll just move on. If it was Michael, you're tired of the media always spinning everything so negatively. that's true for me. Um, I don't know who my favorite was actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want to say is either I don't know. I guess I would switch from time to time. If it was Kevin, you're ready to eat the rich. It's so true of Kevin. In every case, your mind was blown when you found out DC Talk didn't write Jesus is just all right. It's true. They didn't write it. And I feel like I found out a little bit sooner than most people. And so I'm still surprised at the amount of people that are figuring that out. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm gross. But that is so true because each of them are so different right now. Toby, you're still mourning the loss of civility in politics. Yes, you got that. Toby doing the "I'm sorry, I'm sorry," uh, and Michael, who's surprisingly the most. It seems that he's the most conservative out of the three of them, ironically, because he's on. He was on the Candace Owens show. And I don't think Toby or Kevin would have been caught dead on the Candace Owens show. And Kevin, of course, he's going off the rails lately with his progressivism and liberal politics. Like I pay attention to him on social media, and sometimes I just roll my eyes. But I feel like I've appreciated Kevin most out of the three of them for his creativity and his artistic integrity. But that's just what happens, when you're a conservative like me, but also like very creatively wired. Uh, it's a weird limbo place to be. Anyways, Switchfoot. I was a big fan of Switchfoot back in the day. I still pay attention to them, but I'm not as crazy about them anymore. So let's see if I relate to this. You had a little bit of a Christian rebellion phase, a couple PBRs, but these days you're getting into a way more natural lifestyle, which is its own kind of rebellion, if you think about it. Plant-based diet, lots of hydration, staying active, it's a lifestyle. That's not relatable to me, but I can totally see like Switchfoot types being like that. It seems so real. You're trying to cut down on your screen time, but you can't wait for the next season of Succession. I haven't watched Succession, but I've been told that I should watch it. So maybe that's me. I don't know. And technically, I'm still in my Christian rebellion phase. A couple PBRs, psh, that ain't nothing. So that's Switchfoot. Five Iron Frenzy. I did not really get into the ska Christian scene aside from I as a kid I jammed to the Bunch of Believers. Believers. Wow, I can't believe it. It said Believers? No. Bunch of Believers, the Bobs. And The Devil is Bad and the Rumor Weed song by the W's was my jam. And I guess there were a couple of OC Supertone songs that I listened to, but I surprisingly didn't know about Five Iron Frenzy until like years later, and it was too late. But anyways, let's see if you guys relate to this. You went through an improv comedy phase and still kind of tinker around with a sitcom idea you've got, but you don't really know anybody in Hollywood. Maybe you could just write the idea as a novel and someone will adapt it into a TV show for you? That happens, right? I don't know why, but this seems so real when it comes to like ska fan guys that I know. Um, I can totally see them like being the like comedy guy, the comedian guy. I don't know what's so right about that, but it is. You think it's kind of cool that horror movies don't have to be really scary anymore. They can just be kind of moody and foreboding. That I relate to that more than anything. Like all the A24 horror movies, that's my jam. I didn't really get into horror movies until I watched those kinds of movies, and I love those. So maybe I guess I am a Five Iron Frenzy fan as well. Do people still use the word exvangelical? And yes, they do, but I don't know what it's trying to say there. Maybe it's saying that all Five Iron Frenzy fans are exvangelicals. I don't know. Five Iron Frenzy. They were good. They were good. They were really, really, really good. It's another callback to The Lion King. I don't even know if I got the lyrics right. Last one, Audio Adrenaline. I was an Audio Adrenaline fan as well. So you still like U2, even it's not cool anymore. I was having a conversation with someone not too long ago about how I want to get into U2 because I haven't listened to much of them, and I want to listen to the classics like like Joshua Tree and all that. So maybe that could be. You think it's great that Phil Vischer has his own podcast now, but you'll always think of him as the VeggieTales guy. I don't relate to that. I don't think it's great that Phil Vischer has his own podcast because I don't like it. I used to listen to it. Even back when it was called the Phil Vischer podcast. It's now the Holy Post. I do not agree with a lot of the stuff that they say, so I stopped listening. But I am a VeggieTales fan, so I think that Phil Vischer should just stick to VeggieTales. So only halfway relate to that. If Hollywood ever really adapted the Bible into a movie, it'd get a hard R rating. I don't know what it's trying to say because I feel like that's true whether you're an Audio Adrenaline fan or not. I think everyone understands that the Bible gets pretty graphic. And so don't really know what that means. Maybe it means that it's like we think that it's really cool, that it should happen. Anyways, that's all. That's all of that article. I just thought it was interesting. I hope you guys thought that was fun. So that's that. Now to talk about the spicy stuff. Sorry it took so long to get to that. We had a lot of stuff to get through. Also I apologize if I'm not really burping. Like my stomach's growling a little bit because I'm trying out intermittent fasting, and this is my first day on it. So I'm I'm drinking water. Doing my best. Okay, we got to talk about Stephen Furtick. Cuz everybody loves talking about Stephen Furtick. Stephen Furtick I feel like is like the Kanye West of the Christian world. Even though technically Kanye West is a part of the Christian world, I don't know. But so we're talking about Do the Dash. And who is Do the Dash? Do the Dash is the stage name, the rap name for Elijah Furtick, Stephen Furtick's 16-year-old son. At least he was 16 last I heard. He was 16 in the lyrics that he has. I don't know if he's turned 17 or not. Either way, he's a minor. And he has a rap album out now. And first he released a couple singles, and one of them especially got some heat. Also, if you don't know who Stephen Furtick is, Stephen Furtick, Elijah Furtick's father. If you don't know who Stephen Furtick is, then where have you been? He's the pastor of Elevation Church. Elevation Church is famous for elevation worship, their music, but they're also famous for their pastor. Let's face it, Stephen Furtick is a celebrity. But his 16-year-old son is now a rapper, I guess. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it crosses into the Christian music spectrum, especially with elevation worship being attached to it. So he has a single. He has a track. It was a single. Now it's just a track on the album. The album's called Teen Machine. But we're gonna talk about No Hook specifically. That's the name of the song. It's called No Hook. It's all caps! ! And it's been getting a lot of heat because there's some questionable lyrics in them. And I'm going to go into it Ben Shapiro style. I'm going to be reading these lyrics because I can't play the music I don't want to get copyright strike. I don't want this stream to get pulled off or anything. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. A white boy. Well, I guess he is a white boy, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, he talks like a rapper guy. So I'm going to just straight face read these lyrics, mostly just the questionable lyrics, and it will explain why they are questionable and why people are raising a stink about them. So, I got here's some of the lyrics from his song. I got the drip, Richard Milley. I'm only 16, but I might cop a Bentley. My pants are from Ricky. My bro keep a blicky. I do feel like Ben Shapiro, like when he was reading the WAP lyrics. Oh, whoops. Oh no. I said a bad word and I didn't. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm gonna have to find a way to edit that out. I apologize. But Ben Shapiro does the like wet butt P word, but he didn't censor the word for butt. Anyways, oh my gosh, my parents are gonna be so mad, guys. They're gonna kick me out of the house. So, anyways, my bro keep a blicky. For those of you who don't know, who don't regularly check up on Urban Dictionary, blicky is a slang for firearm. Now, here's the thing. I am not opposed to people legally owning a firearm. I own a firearm. I am pro Second Amendment. But for what? He's a minor. And I know he's talking about his bro owning a blicky, but like, how is he hanging out with like an older guy with a gun? I'm just saying, it's really sketchy, and especially coming from a Christian to be talking about like guns. It's just weird, But I mean, the song gets more into like the whole gun violence thing, and it gets more sketchy. So just take it as you will. He's talking about his bro owning a blicky, owning a gun. Moving on. Another line says, "Just walked in the party, they sippin' on Henny." And again, for you guys who don't know urban slang, Henny is slang for Hennessy, and Hennessy is a liquor. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm burping / growling. Hennessy is a liquor. So why is Elijah talking about going to a party where they're drinking liquor, and they're partying? He's a minor. I know he's not explicitly saying that he's drinking it, but it's just a little. A Christian artist, in my opinion, shouldn't really be bragging about that. Shouldn't be talking about that. I mean, we could talk about the subject of Christians drinking alcohol. I may have some hot takes on that. I do. I don't think it's really an issue. But I do understand that alcohol can be really touchy for some people. There's some former alcoholics who has to stay away from that. It's a stumbling block for them. And I get that. And I understand that. When I was on staff at church, it was we couldn't drink alcohol. We couldn't go to bars for fear of being seen by someone who is a recovering alcoholic. And that forming questions in their mind, and that being a damage to their to our witness and to their walk. So I think he's being a little too light, flippant is what I mean about singing about going to a party where they're drinking Henny. But moving on. I got the juice like I'm Biggie. She calling my phone, but I'm busy. And I just spun the block. I'm getting dizzy. which I'm pretty sure spinning the block is a reference to a drive-by. You know, like going in the car and like, I'm not sure. Lick her one time now. Lick her one time. Now she miss me. What? Lick her one time. Now she miss me. I don't think I gotta go too into what that means. I mean, what else could he mean? If he doesn't mean what it sounds like, then he's just ignorant. And they should have checked that. Cause that's pretty sus, as the kids say. So that's what he's talking about. Like, what the heck? What the freaking heck, Elijah? What the heck, Steven? I mean, we're gonna go into that, but I feel like I don't really have to add on much to that. Moving on. I had to go flex. My diamonds clear. You can see the baguettes. Just give me a sec. Mandela effect. We lighten your block. We lighten your block up like a cigarette. And that's now I wanted to be transparent. A lot of this stuff I learned from Ruslan. Ruslan KD. If you don't know him, he's a hip hop artist, but he also has a YouTube channel that I've started to watch a bit, and so he kind of gave this insight to me. So if I sound like Ruslan, then I apologize, because I learned a lot of this from Ruslan. But according to him, lighting your block up means a drive-by, like shooting up the neighborhood. At least that's what it's supposed to sound like. And maybe Elijah doesn't mean that. Maybe they're talking about lighting it up, like, like this place is lit, like bringing up the party, partying and such. But to a lot of people, that's gonna come across the wrong way. So if anything, it's just a lack of judgment and accountability, and just like, did Elijah not have anyone like review? I mean, I guess he works at Elevation, and his dad works at Elevation, and there's a bunch of white people that probably don't know these things. I mean, I didn't know these things before Ruslan mentioned it, so I could understand. But anyways, moving on. Walk inside the bank. They turn in heads like, yes, it's me again. And again, like Ruslan said, that can mean anything. Like, maybe he is just returning to his, like, checking in on his bank account. But it could be interpreted as a bank robbery. It could. Moving on. All they do is talk. I don't care about what is being said. My diamonds finna blind you. Don't think you finna see again. He talked down on the gang. I don't think that he gon' speak again. He talked down on the gang. I don't think that he gon' speak again. What is he talking about? Did he kill someone in this narrative? Not in real life. I'm not accusing him of killing someone in real life, or the gang killing him. But what does that mean? What else could it mean? He talked down on the gang. I don't think that he gonna speak again. It sounds like they offed somebody. Someone's dead because they talked down on the gang. I mean, they could have just said, we kicked him out of the gang. But they're saying he's not going to speak again. Elijah, what did you do? What have you done? What do you mean? So, here's the thing. maybe it's Elijah just trying to be tough. It's like, oh, this is what people say in rap music. This is how they talk. And I'm honestly less upset at Elijah. He's a kid. He probably doesn't understand a lot of the things that he says, but I'm more upset with the accountability in his life with that. I'm more upset with Steven and his mom Holly and how they're okay with this. And we're going to talk more about that because it's more than just allowing him to do this. They are publicly praising and acknowledging his music and his album and this song specifically. So, Teen Machine comes out. That's the album right there. And I listened to it. I went through it, and it's very mediocre. I didn't really like it. It's very mid, and No Hook sounds like it's the only one that has like those controversial lyrics. But one thing that I didn't mention though, another big problem with this song No Hook is that he's constantly showing off and bragging about his wealth. He's like name dropping all these brands that, like, a lot of rap artists do, granted, but if Elijah is a Christian, he needs to he needs to set himself apart from those rappers and not be bragging about his wealth. And something that Ruslan mentioned in his video, we're actually going to show a clip later of that video because there's some drama that unfolded involving him and Elijah. But one thing that he pointed out is that Elijah grew in wealth. Stephen Furtick owns a huge house. And one thing that why a lot of rap artists get the pass of bragging about their wealth, like, I don't agree with it, but the one thing that they get a pass for is that, like, a lot of them started from poverty, and they were able to build themselves up with their talent, with their artistry, and like now they have all this wealth, so they feel justified in bragging about it. I still don't think that anyone should brag about their wealth, but it makes a good point that a lot of people are going to hear this and like make fun of him and criticize him for this. And so that's not going to be a good look for him. That's just going to start trouble. And he as a Christian shouldn't be doing that anyways. And that is the most prevalent thing throughout the album. It doesn't have as controversial lyrics throughout it that as controversial as No Hook, but there's still like so much bragging, so much pride, and like that's not I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised because Stephen Furtick talks, he's borderline, he's at least borderline prosperity gospel. So I think that just kind of comes with the territory. But anyways, the good that I'll say about the album, this is kind of like my review. I appreciate throughout the whole album, each track goes into the next track seamlessly. And I appreciate that to a degree, because you'll listen to the track, and then at the end of the track, it will either change a key, or tempo, or both, so that it seamlessly goes into the next song, so that it fits the next song's key and it fits the next song's tempo. And I appreciate that. I appreciate it in the first few tracks. However, as the album went on, it got pretty old. Where it's like, because like a lot of the tracks are very short. It's a short album. It's like 22 minutes, I think. Um, so in the track, it'll be like a minute and a half of an actual song, and then the last 30 seconds will be changing the tempo and changing the key, whatever, and like saying like this is now we're going into the next song, and it got pretty old. So I because it didn't as the album went on, it was just kind of the same thing. I like albums that do that have like just consistently go into the next track, but they usually those albums usually are like more creative with the way that they transition. With this one, it was just kind of the same thing. So it's kind of a yay and nay on that album with that. But the songs are pretty mediocre. I got really tired of his auto tune. I'm not one of those guys that are like anti auto tune. I think it's fine in certain contexts, with like if you want a certain sound, but like it's all that he did, and like I know a lot of rap artists do that, but like I don't like it. It's too much, and the songs are way too mediocre. And but hey, you know what? He's 16. I would have been happy with this album if I was a 16-year-old, at least with the quality of it. My parents would not have let me say the things that he says on the album, but I digress. So I don't know. If Elijah can learn from this situation and he can grow from this, then I have all the hope in the world for you, buddy. I just hope that you can learn from this. But anyways, that was my review of Teen Machine, and the fact that Holly and Stephen Furtick they're being really open with their support for this album. Like they have no problems with it, and they haven't commented anything on the backlash that it's gotten, because all the Stephen Furtick haters are using this as fuel, and Stephen Furtick hasn't responded. There have been some speculation. There was one album where he's talking about responding to haters. I mean, did I say album? I mean sermon. He had one sermon where he's talking about haters, and how you shouldn't let them get you down, And there's been speculation that maybe that's the response, because it was after all this happened, but there's no actual proof to it. But anyways, so before No Hook came out, Elijah posted it on his Instagram, posted a clip of it, a 57 clip of the music video to it. And you can see it. I'm going to zoom in. There's a zoomed in picture of it. But you can see more near the bottom, Holly Furtick's account commenting on it. So proud of this project. So Holly Furtick has given her seal of approval on that particular song. And then we got Steven posting when the album came out. I'm going to read through it really quickly. Saying how proud of his album, of Elijah, which, of course, that's what every good father should be proud of their son. But he is specifically endorsing this album. He said, "Dear Elijah, you already know how proud I am of you, but today on the release of Teen Machine, I want you to know that you inspire me. The day you showed me your first garage band Mark Ronson ripoff beat, I saw the spark. Next came the obsession. You locked yourself away and taught yourself the intricacies of production and the basics of engineering. A lot of nights I'd hear you coaching yourself in third person, patiently guiding yourself through the learning curve. I think you brought me a new beat to listen to every 2 hours that summer. I love listening to everyone, even though our tastes in music are separated by decades. I was fascinated by your attention to detail, your sonic instinct, and your commitment to your new craft. Then you wanted to expand your YouTube channel by making tutorials, blah, blah, blah. Then came the biggest challenge of all, believing in your own voice, lyrics, and melodies enough to hit record, and make your own project. This is the part that inspired me the most because even with autotune, letting your voice letting your voice be heard even by your own ears is intimidating. No, no, but whatever. Most people can't even stand to hear their voice for 10 seconds on an old video on their phone, but you had the courage to conceptualize and execute an entire project. Every 808 mix and melody you meticulously curated and created, selected and perfected. Blah, blah, blah. When I was 16, I was writing Walmart Green Day riffs, begging John Kirby to record our band on a Tascam 414 blah, 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 blah. I'm proud of your project. I'm inspired by your process. I'm grateful for the person you are and the potential of who you are becoming. I know Shiz is smiling almost as big as I am. I may be out of the loop, but I don't know who Shiz is. Run through the jungle, Teen Machine. The old lion is right behind you. So, yeah. So Stephen Furtick fully endorses this album, including No Hook. Both the parents do. And let's talk more about that because Ruslan has his own story to share about this. Because when he listened to the single, he also reacted the same way that everyone else is. So let's listen to that clip.
So I'll tell you what happened. This is what happened. I saw this and I waited. I waited, guys. I waited. I prayed. I sought counsel and I reached out to Furtick first, directly to Stephen Furtick. I get it. He has 3 million people. I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm not sure if you understand the bars that are being dropped in this song. He doesn't reach back. Fine. Okay, I understand. He's busy. He got 3 million. Okay, respect. I get it. So I then reached out to Elijah. I hit him up like, hey, man, I come from the music industry. I do YouTube Christian cultural commentary. I just wanted to chat with you about your song. And he hit me up with, like, what's up, gang? And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe he's down to have a conversation. So I reached out to him and I sent him 3 voice notes. I said, hey, man, this is not a good look. This is not a good look for your family's ministry because of the heresy hunter crowd, all that kind of stuff. And this is not a good look for your career. Like, for your career, this is not a good look. There's nothing beneficial about this song. I didn't demand he take it down. I didn't say anything wild. I told his dad and then after I sent him a message, then I messaged his mom because I figured, well, maybe she'll see it. She only has a couple 100,000. So I did everything I could. I then sought counsel from multiple people. I then waited. And then I went back to check if he read my message, and you know what happened? Off the dash blocked me. He didn't even blow me off. He didn't even say, oh, I didn't mean it that way. He didn't even say, well, I think you're misinterpreting it. He responded to the first DM, heard my 3 voice notes. Voice note number 1, you have a ton of potential. I don't want this to catch up with you. This is not a good look. Number 2, hey, these lines are sus. I think maybe your parents don't know, but I know what these lines means, and everybody else is gonna know what these lines mean. And I think this is a bad look on you as a pastor's kid, and I think it's a bad look on your future rap career. You have potential. He has potential. He made the beat and I guess mixes his record and he sells beat kits. And so I was asked to react to it. I got to react to it.
Yeah. So, here, that's the wrong camera. Yeah. So here's the thing. Even if Elijah didn't know at the time what he was writing, he definitely knows now. Even aside from Ruslan, just the backlash. Everyone's talking about this song. Everyone's talking about the controversial lines in there and how they can be perceived, whether that's actually what he meant or not. This is how it comes across. And Elijah has definitely had contact with Ruslan, so he knows. And it's being ignored. He's ignoring it. Stephen and Holly are ignoring it. Therefore, Elevation Church is ignoring it, and they're doing nothing about it, and they don't seem to care how this looks. And it's very concerning, you know? Um, I mean, there's a few problems that I have on it. Is it looks bad on Elijah, even though he's 16. Uh, it looks bad on him saying these things that can be perceived in a certain way. Um, goes without saying. It looks bad on him. It looks bad on his family and Holly and Steven's parenting because they're not doing anything about it. In fact, they are promoting this. And as far as I know, he's being platformed at Elevation Church and like they're letting him perform and they are supporting his music. So, of course, that looks bad on them. And in the end, it reflects bad on Elevation Church. It reflects bad on the leadership. I think I heard somewhere that Elijah is technically on staff there, which I don't know how that is because he's 16. I don't know how that works, but I guess it's a mega church, so you can't just be in regular churches a 16-year-old can be a volunteer. But I guess a volunteer at a mega church is technically a job. So, but yeah, it looks bad on Elevation Church. And like I said earlier, this could get mocked by the secular world very easily. I mean, I think there are some that, will mock the actual quality of the music, but he's definitely going to get flack for being some white kid bragging about the cars that he drives and the kind of clothes that he has. Well, I don't think it's right. He's gonna get flack for it, especially since he's not. I listened to the whole album, and the one thing I'll say, like, there's no mention of God in it, and I'm not criticizing him for that, but because of that, people in secular world are going to catch up on this music and they're going to make fun of him. And so I don't know. There's not much else that I can say that everyone hasn't said already, but it's just a crazy thing. And the whole thing, as far as I know, Elijah still hasn't responded to Ruslan about that. He just straight up blocks him, which I wonder if that's a side effect of. I mentioned earlier about that sermon that Steven talked about like not listening to the haters. I wonder if this is him taking his dad's advice by just straight up blocking Ruslan, even though Ruslan was completely respectful as far as he's said. So I don't know. I think it's funny, and but also really concerning. I've made it clear in the past I'm not a fan of Elevation Church. I'm not a fan of Stephen Furtick. People have talked about, like, called him a heretic. I think some of what he preaches is like pretty borderline heresy, and like he has a what do you call it? Narcissism. I just think Stephen Furtick is unfit to be a pastor. I'm not saying that he's not a Christian, because he's not as out front, like out there as like Joel Osteen with Prosperity Gospel. But there's a lot of reasons for me not to like him, and think that he shouldn't be a pastor. So, but this has really, aside from that, this doesn't really have anything to do with that. This is kind of this is a pretty separate situation that you can criticize him for. So I hope that they can start to see some sense, but I doubt that anything is going to happen. Elijah dothedash is just going to continue to make music, and maybe he'll just learn from this and like not write lyrics like that anymore, just to avoid the controversy. But I don't see like the song being taken down or anything, and Elijah and Holly's support, backing off any bit. So, anyways, what do you guys think? What are your guys' opinions? Let me know in the comments. Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat. I'm curious because this is I think it's an interesting situation. All right, moving on with the show. I got a few more things to talk about. Not a few more things. Really just one more thing because we're gonna do a music review really quick. So, usually I like to take this time to talk about something that I like that just came out that I want people to know more about. But I'm going to take this opportunity so that you guys know that the music review section of this show is also going to be about stuff that I don't like. Because because I used to do this in my previous videos where I would talk about music that was getting a lot of attention, but I think people should know that the bad things about it, in my opinion, at least. So, what I used to do with my old format of the YouTube videos is that I would be paying close attention to what was in the charts of Christian music. And since I changed my format a bit, I have not been paying much attention at all to what's been going on in the charts and what's been popular. Mostly because it's all the same thing. And I don't like depressing myself by listening to a lot of popular Christian music because it's all the same, most of it. Sometimes you have your breakout good music, but so I checked it out and I was curious. What the current number one song was, because remember back in the day when it was You Say by Lauren Daigle for like 2 years and like nothing was changing, and now it's just like not in the charts at all. I was curious, what is the current number one song? And I was surprised. For those of you who don't know, the number one song in Christian music today is this song, let me pull it up here, In the House by Crowder. We were talking about David Crowder Band earlier. So I was like, okay. I do have some respect for David Crowder as a musician. I think David Crowder Band made some of the best albums in Christian music at the time. And there's some Crowder tracks that I've thought were okay. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to Crowder's solo music. But there's some that I thought was okay, some that I didn't think that was okay. So I thought, like, okay, well, this could be anything. So I listened to it. And I've got to say, I'm shocked. I'm surprised. I don't know why this is the number one song in Christian music. It's not that it's bad, but at least with You Say by Lauren Daigle, I knew why that it was popular for so long. It had decent production. Lauren Daigle has a great voice. She sounds like Adele. I did get sick and tired of that song to the point where I'm not really a fan of it anymore. I think I did a review of that song, and I think I could take back some of the things that I said about it, especially since my views of Lauren Daigle have changed. But I still know why that song was so popular. With this one, I don't know how long it's been. I should have checked how long it's been number one, but it doesn't seem that special in terms of music, in terms of its theme. I don't get it. The chord progression is so, I've heard it a million times before in Christian songs, and the feel of it is not that special. And the lyrics, it's kind of just an upbeat party song, kind of. It's a Christian party song with some, Southern rock influence. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Southern rock. That was like the one thing that I liked about the song, was that at the beginning there's like this country-esque guitar intro. But as the song goes on and like the production layers are, piling up, I realized, I'm like, the Southern rock element doesn't add like hardly anything to it. You could take it out and you wouldn't be taking a lot out of the music. So, In the House by Crowder, it's kind of sad too, because David Crowder Band, they seemed to have such an appreciation for like the creative integrity of their music. Like I want to go back and listen to some of them. Like their last album, Give Us Rest, or Requiem Mass in C, the happiest of all keys. I love that title. I love most of the titles of their album. It's an hour and 40-minute album. And it just has so much creativity, experimental elements to it, and I want to go back to it and listen to it and like have some like refine my my opinion on it. But I remember it being like, so like, this is different than like what most Christian artists are doing, and I appreciated that. Same for church music. I remember really loving that album. It has such a, like dance music influence to it that wasn't like overbearing or like cliche or shallow. It was a really well crafted album. Same for their an earlier album, A Collision, or 3 plus 4 equals 7. Even back then, it's a 21 track album, and I think I remember it being brilliant. And so when you compare that to what In the House is, it's sad. And maybe just maybe the genius of David Crowder Band wasn't 100% David Crowder. Which the whole David Crowder Band splitting up thing was kind of weird to me, because David Crowder Band announces that they split up, and then because they had different interests, the members wanted to pursue ministry or whatever. But then the Digital Age comes out, and the Digital Age is basically David Crowder Band minus David Crowder. It was the members of David Crowder, but not with David Crowder. It was with another lead singer. And they started out really good. I liked a lot of their music at the beginning, but I think I remember checking out their more recent music, and I was like, oh, this is just kind of cookie cutter Christian music now. So I don't know what happened there. But then David Crowder just comes out with Crowder music. I was like, what happened? Did they must have had just they just split up because they didn't like each other. And now Crowder is like, he's still got like the Southern rock influence that David Crowder Band would have, the folk influence, but somehow it's just a lot more mainstream sounding. So I don't know what that whole situation is. But anyways, In the House is not special, and I don't know why it's number one. I could understand it being like in the middle of the charts for a little while, but then eventually dying out. But I don't get the hype behind this song. So that's my review. That's my music review for this episode. I think that's it for today. I will definitely be, as far as I know, I'll be back in the next episode. It'll be actually live. I miss you guys. Again, I apologize for not really being here live, but I hope that this show was still quality enough for you guys. And next time, I don't know what we're gonna do next time. I think I'm gonna talk about, oh yeah, the Hillsong documentary series. I wanted to watch that, so maybe I'll get to watch that and we'll talk about that in the next episode. We'll see. We got a whole list of things I want to talk about, so and you guys know that I love talking about controversial Hillsong stuff. So we shall see. Sorry, I'm getting some things in order as we're going to head out of this episode. But yeah, that's all we got for today. That was episode 3 of the I'm Clifford Today show. Be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts so that you can get a shout out on the show. And leave a rating on Spotify. And whatever platform you use, if there's a way to like review or rate, whatever, please do it because it helps me out. Check out the questions and polls that I have on every episode on Spotify for all you Spotify listeners. And if you answer and participate, you'll get to also get a shout out on the show. Also, be sure to listen to Podwood Forecast with me and Mitchell. Recently, we talked about the Adventures of Tintin and the movie Adventures of Tintin in a movie called Night on the Galactic Railroad. Next episode, we're actually going to talk about the new Batman movie and other Batman movies. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure to like it and subscribe. And I'm still working on the next video. It's coming out. I'm like almost done with it. So we'll see. Anyways, see you guys in the next episode. And remember, I'm Clifford today, and you're not.